I think if there was like one point in my life that I can go back to where I first really started to care about Africa and human rights issues, one night at Gordon, I went to an alternative chapel, and they were showing a film on human trafficking. And I had never even heard the term human trafficking before. So it was this whole video, basically that there are millions of women and children around the world who are involved in sex trafficking and are essentially um, just tortured like every day, all day, for years on end, um, until they get, a disease and aren't useful anymore. So I think like that night and that moment, like seeing that video and hearing about human trafficking was the first time that I ever really came to like a really full awareness of like human rights and problems around the world. And all through college, Gordon really had an emphasis on human rights. They would bring in people to talk about AIDS and genocide, Rwanda, human trafficking. And I think through everything I was studying in politics, it just seemed like Africa had more problems than anywhere else in the world and the fewest resources to deal with those problems. They had AIDS, they had genocide, they had trafficking, unbelievable like poverty and famine, and just didn't have the monetary or the physical like resources to deal with the problem. I was at a wedding over the summer and talking with friends who had spent time abroad in Peru and Africa, and it just really struck me that this has always been something that's been on my heart, to go to Africa, and that now is the best time in life to do it. Um, so I really started thinking that do want to go spend some time in Africa, and I need to do it soon. Um, I'm going to leave my job just because most employers don't really enjoy it when you're like, hey, can I have 6 months off? Not really. So I'm going to leave my job, and yeah, going to Africa is expensive because you're paying for the cost of the trip, and then also you're losing 6 months' wages, whatever that is. But I think there are some things in life that you can't really put a price on. Like for me, like going to college. I mean, you just couldn't price it. I didn't care how much it was. It was something that I had to go to Africa because I want it to change me. Like when I went to Costa Rica, just seeing the kids and the poverty that there really did change me. Albert asked me when we came back to stand up at Vintage and talk about like Costa Rica and how the experience, transformed me. And the thing I said that struck me most was that it gave poverty a face, in that, poverty just wasn't some like ivory tower topic that like didn't mean anything to me. Poverty was Katie. Poverty was Jaro. Poverty was Kimberly. And it had a face and a name. So I want to go to Africa because I want to be changed. I feel like those kind of experiences just change who you are as a person, and you can't come back the same. Um, and I also, while there, just want to pray and seek God's will that He would open my eyes to what He wants for my future, whether that's staying in Africa or coming back here or going to DC, or what His plans are. I think that as a vision for the future, I can see myself like working in a career in human rights and really working on the educational side of things, because knowledge is power and ignorance is not an excuse. And just the fact that we don't know that there were 4 million people killed in the Congo in the last 5 years doesn't mean that you're not responsible.